All right, today we're cracking open the code on something really fascinating. An experiment that tries to use pure math to predict, well, the glorious, chaotic, and let's be honest, completely unpredictable world of the NFL.
I mean, it's the ultimate question, right? For any sports fan, for any data geek out there, can a bunch of algorithms actually see the future of a football game better than all the experts? Well, somebody is putting that exact theory to the test. So, we got to see how it's going.
And look, before you just dismiss it out of hand, just look at this number, 22 and 6. 22 wins, only 6 losses. Now, this isn't for every game. This is the system's track record on its most confident predictions. The games where every single one of its algorithms agreed on who was going to win. A record like that? Yeah, that gets your attention.
Okay, so first up, let's look at what the system calls its locks. And it's pretty simple. These are the games where every single one of those predictive models is on the same page. They all agree on the winner.
And for this week, here they are. We've got 8 games where the data is basically speaking with one voice. We're talking the Broncos, the Texans, though that kind of assumes C.J. Stroud is good to go, the Panthers, Bills, Bears, Seahawks, Lions, and finally, the Green Bay Packers.
But here's where it gets really interesting. This is the human element, right? Even with these data-driven locks, the creator throws in their own personal I guess, basically admitting, hey, this pick feels kind of shaky. But then they immediately say they felt the exact same way about a correct pick last week. It's just a perfect reminder that even with all this math, that gut feeling, that intuition, it still plays a part. So who or what is actually making these calls? Well, it's not just one big computer brain. It's actually a team of 4 different algorithms. Let's kind of meet the engines behind these picks. So first, you've got algorithm A. Think of this one as the offensive guru. It's all about offense, offense, offense. It believes that potent offenses are what win games, so it's heavily weighting stuff like yards per play and red zone efficiency. Then you've got B1 and B2. These are the balanced strategists. They give equal weight to both sides of the ball, offense and defense, looking at everything from turnover margins to third down conversions. And what's really key here is that all 3 of these models build their predictions before the season even starts, using 5 full years of historical data.
And then there's the wild card, algorithm C, the rookie. This one is completely different. It ignores all the preseason hype, all that historical data, and it only starts learning from week 5 onward. It's only using trends from the current season to make its calls. So yeah, it's built to be more adaptive, but you have to remember it's working with a much, much smaller data set. So you can see how these different philosophies, these different ways of looking at the game are going to lead to some disagreements, right? This is why some picks are those unanimous locks and others, well, they're debated within the system itself. Let's take a look at how that actually works. Okay, this is a perfect example. A tale of 2 predictions, really. You look at the Patriots versus the Buccaneers game. The historical models, A and B, they strongly favor the Bucs. They're probably looking back at their past success. But then you've got algorithm C, the rookie, which only looks at this season. And it actually sees a slight edge for the Patriots. This right here, this is the core tension in all of sports analytics. It's that battle between long-term history and what's happening right now. And the data that's fueling those big preseason models, it is incredibly deep. We're not just talking about wins and losses here. They're analyzing 5-year trends for individual players, the historical patterns of entire coaching staffs, the philosophies of both the offensive and defensive coordinators, and even how rookies have historically performed in systems just like these. It's a lot. You'd think that data this granular, this detailed, would have to come from some massive sports analytics firm, right? Like some giant tech corporation. But nope. This whole complex system has a much more personal origin story. Let's dig into how this all got started. Believe it or not, this all started years ago as just a hobby, just someone using math to try and predict the Super Bowl. And it was a hobby that went an incredibly impressive 9-2. So that success kind of evolved. And 3 years ago, the first real algorithm was born. But it wasn't designed for single games. It was designed to predict entire NFL seasons. And all of that, well, it brings us right here to this year, the first ever public, full-season experiment in making weekly picks. The creator had this great analogy for that original model. They compare it to an S&P 500 index fund. It might have some down weeks. It's not always going to be perfect, but it's built for steady, long-term success. And the proof is really in the pudding here. For 3 straight years, it correctly predicted 10 of the 14 playoff teams
before the season even kicked off. That's pretty wild.
And that really brings us back to today. The creator is just so transparent about this whole thing, stating it plainly, this weekly experiment, it's brand new territory. It's like we're getting a look inside a live test, a real work in progress, and they're openly saying, hey, I don't know for sure if this is going to work. You know, that kind of honesty is pretty refreshing.
So, okay, with an experiment like this, how do you even measure success? I mean, it can't be perfection, right? Nobody's going to go undefeated. So what's the actual goal? What's the real benchmark for victory here? Well, the project actually borrows its benchmark from the world of professional sports gambling. And not to promote it, but because the math is just ruthlessly efficient. To actually be profitable over the long term, professional gamblers have to be right somewhere between 55 and 57% of the time. So that's it. That's the target.
Visually, it looks something like this. It's really not about winning every single game. It's about being on the right side of this line consistently over time. So if any of these algorithms can hit or, even better, exceed that 57% win rate over the entire season, then the whole experiment is considered a success.
So for anybody out there following along with this, the creator offers some pretty simple advice. Don't try to outsmart the system. Don't jump around. Just choose one of the algorithms, whether it's the offensive guru, one of the balanced strategists, or the new rookie, and just stick with it. Ride it out for the long haul.
And so all of that leaves us with the big, lingering question. The data has been crunched, the models are running, but in a sport that's decided by inches, by unbelievable athletes doing impossible things, by the completely unpredictable bounce of a football, you just have to wonder, will data alone ever really be enough?